This is the raw truth of my domestic violence.
I want to touch base on a few things that happened in my life to show you an example of things that had happened that most people assume do not happen with domestic violence relationships. I didn't see it coming. In fact, I didn't realize he was that kind of a guy. He seemed perfect. He was amazing. He was wonderful. It was a whirlwind romance. He actually got to know me first before I got to know him.
He tried to mirror my life and all his victims to draw us in.
To my religion, to my
He has been every religion just to get his victim, to get them to trust him.
That everything that he tried to mirror was fake. He put on a mask and he wore that mask in public. This mask prevented people from knowing who and what he really was. He was great, making people like him. Perfect stand-up guy. So no, I didn't see it coming. I wasn't a bad picker, as people say. It can happen to anyone. I was a military guy, and a lot of people respect the military. They see these guys as our war heroes. I put him on a pedestal. I thought he was a great guy. I didn't think he would do these things, nor do other people when they see our war heroes, when they see our veterans. And after we got married, within that first year, he was beating on me, and he eventually got arrested. It's a no-tolerance policy.
His military buddies and the wives tried to silence me.
They didn't want me to talk about it. They even told me my husband would lose his military career and that my children would get taken. They tried to get me to retract my statement with the police. I didn't get support. I didn't know who to turn to. This no tolerance actually was tolerated. They were willing to cover up for him and do whatever it took to help him out, but not help me, not help my kid. People assumed that it only happens to certain kinds of people. It happened to us. People also assumed because they saw these great vacations and these family photos and all these smiles and fancy gifts that he must be a great guy, that we must have a great life. I got threatened when I didn't want to go on a vacation with him.
He threatened me if I didn't go to our trip to Costa Rica. And when we got there, he held me underwater.
We spent 3 weeks in Florida, and we went to Disney World. On that last day of vacation, he beat me so badly. He pounded my head into the ground. I had bruises everywhere, all over my body.
Christmas vacation, we went home to see my family in Michigan. He slammed on his brakes, going over 90 miles an hour. Food, drinks, things went flying everywhere. Then he ran around to the side of the car while the kids were terrified and kept yelling for me to open my door. I wouldn't open the door. I was scared. The kids were scared. They were begging me not to open the door. He finally calmed down and said everything would be fine, that he was just tired and wanted me to drive. So I unlocked the door. He pulled me out by my hair, threw me in a ditch, and then he took off. We had a really awesome vacation, all-inclusive, to Turks and Caicos. The only thing that wasn't awesome was the fact that he forced me to go scuba diving. Not only am I afraid of water, like really afraid, and barely can swim, but I had lung surgery, and I was scared. I was scared he was going to turn my air tank off. So instead of being paired up in a group of 2, we were paired up in a group of 3. I had another vacation. I was pregnant. He refused me medical care. I got listeria during that pregnancy. I was having contractions. I was vomiting. I was passing out. I
I was scared. And the worst part was is we were in another country and he was angry. He had disappeared all night long, had lipstick all over his collar, and instead of trying to tend to his pregnant wife, he was angry because I got sick and he refused me medical care. And my youngest child, I am beyond a 20-hour flight and didn't lose my baby. He did that not just in pregnancy, but there are many times he withheld medical care and refused to allow me to go to the doctors. I also had medications that he refused to let me have. He would take them from me, or he would refuse to fill my prescriptions. That was abuse. And while I was married to him, I didn't realize that was abuse. I just know there were times I was in tears because if I didn't take my medicine, sometimes I couldn't even walk straight because it would affect me that badly. The other thing that people assume was the nice pictures, the happy faces, the Christmases when we had family over. You see, when we didn't have people over on holidays and for Christmas, it was an awful holiday. We would spend our holidays in tears, crying, because actually holidays are horrible for people in domestic violence relationships. The abuser makes things so much worse. But when we have somebody there, he puts his mask on and everything looks perfect. People who witnessed us on holidays actually accused us of lying. But they had no idea of what happened behind closed doors. They had no idea that if we showed people what really happened, that we would get beaten. I was abused physically. I was abused emotionally. I was abused verbally. I had my life threatened many times. He threatened to take my children from me if I tried to leave. He tried to have his family have me committed, or threatened to have his family have me committed if I tried to leave. They even showed up, so I couldn't leave. He financially abused me. We didn't have the same bank account. He financially abused me. We didn't have the same bank accounts. And he wouldn't buy food. He would have our phones turned off. He would have our utilities turned off. There were times I had to boil water to be able to take a bath. And we lived in a $450,000 home. Yet I had to boil water, and I had to go to food banks to get food to feed my kids. I also couldn't take my kids to the doctors, or I couldn't take them to school at times because he wouldn't get me gas. He found many ways to try and keep us from talking, by taking our phones, by turning off the internet, by making sure that there was no way we could communicate with the outside world. Also sexually abused me. He forced me to have sexual relations with him and would choke me at the same time that the kids were also being affected. Some of the things that he did to me, he also did to the kids. And then he would threaten the kids not to tell and not to talk about it with threats. And we were scared to leave. I was scared to leave. We walked on eggshells because this guy who seemed perfect on the outside to everyone else was scary. We never knew what kind of a mood he was going to be in. We never knew what to expect from him. He used his friends, his family, his connections, and his money to also keep us from talking.
I was scared to let him meet my family and friends. because behind my back, he would go to them and tell them long, detailed lies about me, trying to turn them from me. He tried to alienate me from all my friends and all my family. He even tried to alienate me from my own children. When I used to go to work, he would sit my kids down, give them a Bible, make them swear on it, and tell them that if they told, they would go straight to hell. Then he would proceed to tell them over and over again lies about me until they said they believed him. If they didn't believe him, he would get angry with them. He then would tell them to watch me and report everything back to him. I was afraid to leave because he threatened to take my kids. He knew that was where he could hurt me the most. Told that only stupid women or ignorant, uneducated women would stay in a domestic violence relationship, that it was really easy to walk away. There's a lot of people, mostly women of all things, that have given me attitude because they think that there is no way a woman could allow such a thing to happen. Between being terrified and scared and afraid of losing my children, I stayed. There's so many reasons why I stayed, but I wanted to leave, but he made it virtually impossible. He knew that I would be homeless, that I wouldn't be able to feed my kids, that I wouldn't be able to take care of them. And he tried to make sure that I would keep coming back to him. Except this last time, when he gave my son a concussion, who was 6 at the time, as much as they can't financially make it on their own. And if they can't make it on their own, and they're homeless or they can't feed their kids, the kids get taken by the state. And then the kids end up going back to the same person that abuses them. So walking away isn't as easy as it looks like. There are too many people that assume that it's just that easy, and it's not. It's not easy. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of power. And when I say power, I mean willpower. It takes friends, family, and the community. Most of the time, his physical abuse was strategic. He hit me in places that were either concealed by my hair or my clothing. Except for my own family, didn't know it was happening to me, because on the outside, we appeared to be a happy family. On the outside, we had a great home. We had nice cars. We went on nice vacations. I had an awesome ring. How in the world could someone like me be abused? It can happen to anyone. Domestic violence does not discriminate.
Physical wounds fade, but verbal wounds are the hardest to recover from. While I continue to recover, I can proudly say I am a survivor.